I leave you guys for 5 minutes and all hell breaks loose. Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Sunday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It was a busy day yesterday for me. 3 videos. I've been rehearsing my Christmas Carol adaptation. I am playing Ebenezer Scrooge at the Iron Apple Playhouse, and loads of rehearsals going on today later, so a very busy time for me, but I'll always have time for DC and my fellow DC fans, Doctor Who fans, my fellow geeks and nerds in general. So welcome to the show. So yesterday, while I was really busy being an artiste, there was some DC news breaking, specifically about Blue Beetle. Now, let's put that there for just a minute. So James Gunn was asked, basically, one fan saying what I said on Twitter yesterday. Is Blue Beetle the first movie of DC Universe? This is what James Gunn said to said fan. That basically they will help kind of guide next year's movies. But their slate will begin after Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which releases next December of 2023. Now, this is nothing we didn't know. And by the way, if you watch this channel, you are so well informed. Because yesterday, the DC Universe Daily was all about my theory that DC Universe is just a rebranded DCEU. And you know what? With what happened at CXP or whatever it's called, the Brazilian Comic-Con yesterday, my theory is coming true. So we were told there will be no WBDC panels at the Brazilian Comic Convention. So there's been no panels for the Flash movie, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And we were told that Blue Beetle wouldn't be promoted at this convention. Do you remember us, being very suspicious about that? Do you remember me having a video about that? And so, surprisingly, the only film to actually get an actual panel at the convention was Blue Beetle. So, the lead actor was there, the directors were there, and this is very interesting. And we got a poster. So, I'm asking you today on today's DC Universe Daily, why is it that Blue Beetle got a panel, but the other movies did not? Now, Scooper Daniel RPK has reported this about Blue Beetle and the interactions between Jamie Reyes and the Scarab in the Blue Beetle movie. Because we will be able to hear the Scarab speak. He and Jamie will even argue. Now, on Ted Kord, according to Dan, Ted Kord is not in the movie, but he's not dead in the movie either. He's just missing. Could it be that Ted Kord appears in a post-credits scene? That will be something to look out for in the movie. But as far as we know, Ted Kord is not in the movie, and the Scarab will speak, and Jamie will argue with the Scarab. Very kind of, like in the animation, like in the comic book. So there is some comic book accuracy here, which I'm really excited about. So, in terms of the Scarab, that excites me. But Ted Kord being replaced by Victoria Kord is just another female replacing a male. A bit like Supergirl replacing Superman in the Flash movie, but we're not going to go all over that all over again. We've done that. I've exposed that. End of the story. And so, the question is here. Why has Blue Beetle had this panel when they said there wouldn't be a panel, and the other films didn't get a panel? So that's kind of interesting. So this Brazilian comic convention has been very revealing, hasn't it? And I didn't think this was going to be a big deal. I didn't think we'd learn too much about these movies. But we have learned one thing, that Blue Beetle is a priority to Warner Brothers Discovery and DC Studios. But why? Because it's the first film after the Flash movie. And of course, it has huge Latino representation, which will be very important to them. You're going to be hearing about how heroic they are for representing Latinos because, let's face it, Hollywood are not famous for representation and inclusion. They only include their own kind and their own bloodlines. It's as simple as that. And by the way, there's no real representation and inclusion in Hollywood. I could educate you all day. I could tell you that most of the African American representation and inclusion in the entertainment industry are just people with their DNA and their bloodlines, right? Not proper representation and inclusion. And if you were like a black guy from Brixton, you wouldn't get a look in. I'm just being factual here. I'm just being honest. But anyway, you're going to hear a lot about Latino representation. And so, yeah, they're promoting this movie. It's the first movie after the Flash movie. So now that Batgirl's gone, in the original Hamada multiverse strategy, Blue Beetle would have been the first film to represent Walter Hamada's new timeline. And that would have been a timeline with Michael Keaton being the main Batman, the only Batman. In fact, there will be no Ben Affleck anymore, even though there was rumours about a final crisis and Ben Affleck playing a big role in that later down the line. We still don't know what's happening. So what's interesting about them only promoting Blue Beetle and only giving Blue Beetle a panel, because it is a big clue. It is something that we have to look at and say, hang on a minute, because since Movies TV Mad, my YouTube channel started, we have always asked the right questions. When these movies were postponed earlier this year, I asked questions. Now, I'm going to say what I've been saying ever since 2018 when this channel launched. If you're looking for a shiller, if you're looking for a shillfest, this is the wrong channel. And I know I can be annoying with my criticisms of Hollywood and my asking questions of elite creators, because I know some of you just want to shill, just want to kiss the butt of James Gunn and Peter Safran. And that's okay. These are two men I highly respect and I'm excited about. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. But once you don't question things, that's when bad things can happen. It's important for the fans to question things. After Justice League, the fans questioned things, and we pushed to release the Snyder Cut. If we didn't speak up, we would never have seen the Snyder Cut. So as a consumer, as someone who's part of the human race, we question governments, we question studios, we question writers and directors. That is right. And that is proper. And when you don't question things, that's when the bad people take over. It's as simple as that. So this is a channel that will always query things and ask questions. Why? Because I'm a DC fan and I care about the health and state of DC live action. And we know what's been going on since 2013, and we want something fundamentally to change here in terms of success. In terms of entertainment, in terms of the DC live action universe, not just for you, not just for me, not just the Snyder fans, but for comic book fans, the general audience, everybody. And, you know, the studio need to do this to make money, to make the money that keeps this universe viable. It's their most, potential-based IP. There's no question about that. So these are the facts that the other movies coming out this year for DC didn't get a Brazilian Comic-Con panel, but Blue Beetle did. And we've also had some information about the Scarab, which we've already spoken about. So it's a very, very interesting situation because this is a very important movie for many reasons. The Latino representation, as we've already discussed, but because it's the first film after the Flash movie. So is James Gunn and Peter Safran going with the Walter Hamada strategy that, things will change after the Flash movie? It actually does look like the DC universe is a rebranded DCEU, and they're not going to start again. Like it or not, this is where it is. I don't like that idea. I don't think it can work. But what do I know? I'm not Peter Safran, and I'm not James Gunn. Maybe they can make a success of rebranding the DC Extended Universe. It would be a huge achievement, one that would make me tip my imaginary cap off to James and Peter. but we will see. So I'm very excited that the Scarab speaks in Blue Beetle. I'm very excited that there will be interactions between Jamie Reyes and the Scarab. As I say, it's very, very comic book accurate, and that element is very, very exciting. Now, what I find interesting about what James Gunn said to the fan, that he said, we are going to help the movies that have already been shot, but they're not our movies. Basically, what he exactly said was that our slate doesn't begin till Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. In other words, let's make it clear, everyone, that those 4 movies coming out next year are nothing to do with me. Now, he can't say they're nothing to do with me and Peter Safran, because Peter Safran is producing some of those movies, if not all of them. So Peter Safran can't do a Homer Simpson and hedge back into the hedgeway, right? Or the bush, because he is very much involved in the old DCEU. So that's an interesting situation as well. Not that anything that's happened is his fault. His production company were involved in Shazam, and I think, was it Joker as well, and Aquaman and some of the other films, but the course that these films were going on had nothing to do with Peter Safran. So it's important to say that. So some very exciting revelations yesterday, and I'm excited about the Blue Beetle revelations, and I'm always excited to hear news about DC and where we're finally headed. For weeks now, we've kind of been asking the question, what is DC Universe? What does it mean? What context and what kind of affiliation does it have with the old DCEU? And I think, really, we can say now with all certainty that DC Universe is indeed a rebranded DC Extended Universe. All I can say to James Gunn and Peter Safran is good luck. You're going to need it. The fans are behind you. I'm behind you. I want DC to be successful. I love DC. DC is very important to me, and I'm excited for next year's movies, and I'm excited for the future of DC, and I'm excited to hear this slate. Now, that's another question. When will we get this new slate? Will they wait till after Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? Will they give us a slate before the end of this year, next year? Now, James Gunn has already said a week or so ago, that we will hear more news before San Diego Comic-Con. Again, proving me right, and other fans that kept on claiming we won't hear anything to San Diego Comic-Con because that's what they wanted. But we will hear something now sooner rather than later. Now, whether that's a full slate or not, that's interesting, because just imagine we get a full slate today, tomorrow, or the next day. And that distracts from next year's movies. But also what it could help do is elevate the mainstream audience, the general audience, to be more excited about next year's movies. In fact, a slate, a James Gunn's and Peter Safran slate, could help put more hype behind next year's movies. And I think instead of it distracting and, hurting next year's movies, it could really help, because I think there is a slate. I think they've already decided what the slate's going to be. And at this stage, I don't know what film will come first in their slate. Now, originally, when Henry was back in Black Adam, we were all saying, well, Superman's going to be the first movie in that slate. They're going to fast track a Superman film. But maybe not. Maybe we were mistaken, because I tell you what a slate would do, and the sooner we see one, the better, because that would give me a huge clue, and it would make me able, it would empower me to be able to inform you, my subscribers and viewers, a lot more. So if you're watching this on the off chance and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, because one thing you will be on this channel is informed. There's no, there's no huge bullshit titles just to sucker you in. We talk about DC on the DC Universe Daily, that's it. And I try and update you, and I give you opinions. I'm not a fucking robot. This is a channel that will always ask questions and literally put its opinion forward. That's who I am, and that's who I always will be. I'm 50 years old. I'm too old to change. But a slate reveal would tell us and would tell me a lot. And it would tell me what direction DC Universe is going and I can't wait to see that slate. This has been the DC Universe Daily here on Movies TV Mad with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wife, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection, and I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.